circle, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Shua Tova, Gut Moed. We're a day late because we just celebrated the first 2 days of Pesach. It may not be a surprise to you that two of the most long-held mitzvahs that have been kept under all circumstances are the mitzvot of Pesach and the mitzvah of Brit Milah, the circumcision, under the most difficult of times. In the 1980s, this is a story I want to share with you tonight, was told by the chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Yisrael Meir Lau. When he was the chief rabbi of Tel Aviv in the 80s, many Russians were coming to Israel, and some of them were very Jewish, and some of them were a little bit Jewish, and some had Jewish neighbors, and it was important to figure out who is Jewish. And a 40-year-old man came to the rabbi, accompanied by two witnesses to testify to his Jewish status. So the first witness said, "Rabbi, 42 years ago in Russia, I was at this young man's bris." So anyone who could give a bris to their child in the 40s under communist Russia had to be Jewish and maybe crazy to risk giving a bris to their child. So the rabbi turned to the second witness and said, "And you?" And this older man with a long white beard, actually a chassid, said, "I don't know this young man. I wasn't at his bris, but I know his mother, and I can testify to her Jewishness. And this is my connection to this man's mother. She was a doctor in a hospital in Moscow. She knew nothing about Judaism except one thing. She was a heavy smoker. She smoked 2 packs a day, and every night, before she went to bed, she would put 1 cigarette from her 2 packs into a box. And for the entire year, she would collect 1 cigarette a day, put it in a box, and the day after Purim, which is always a month before Pesach, and this chassid said, I don't know how she knew it was exactly a month before Pesach. She would come to me with a box with 365 cigarettes. The value of those cigarettes on the black market in Russia in the 40s and 50s was enough that I could buy fresh flour to be used to make shmura matzah, and every year she would bring me her box of cigarettes. I would cure the flour, make matzahs for her, and I knew that she had a seder. So without being educated, without being practical or observant in many areas, this guy's mother, for years and years and years, had a matzahs, kosher matzahs on Pesach to make a seder in the worst times in Russian Jewish history. Rabbi Lau was so inspired by this story that he called up this mother who was still alive in Russia in her 80s. He got a hold of her and he said, "Lady," probably said something nicer than lady, he said, "We in Israel celebrate Pesach for 7 days a year. Jews in America and outside of Israel celebrate Pesach for 8 days a year. But you have celebrated Pesach 365 days a year." Because every single day she was putting aside that cigarette to make sure she would have matzahs for her seder in the difficult life of Russia. So the lesson I want to take from there is we have to think about the right things every day of the year, not just on Pesach. So whether it's remembering people who need to join the Seder, people who have to be part of the Jewish people, just to remember about our Jewishness and other people is something we should be doing every day. I hope I can listen and you can as well.